For years, the world watched, holding its breath. The global semiconductor industry, the very bedrock of our digital age, was locked in an escalating tech war. On one side, the established titans, TSMC, Samsung, undisputed champions of advanced chip manufacturing. On the other, a nation, China, under immense pressure, facing unprecedented US sanctions, determined to forge its own path to technological self-sufficiency. The narrative was clear. These sanctions would cripple China's ambitions, leaving them decades behind. But what if? What if that entire narrative was wrong? What if the very measures designed to hold them back have, in an astonishing twist of fate, inadvertently propelled them forward? Prepare yourselves, because the truth emerging from the shadows of this chip showdown is far more complex, and frankly, far more alarming than anyone anticipated. Did China just beat TSMC and Samsung? Did the US sanctions backfire? The answer, RevoNow Nation, might just shock you. Before we dive deep into this geopolitical technology thriller, if you're as fascinated by the hidden forces shaping our future as we are, then you know what to do. Smash that like button right now, share this video with everyone you know, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive from RevoNow. Your support fuels our mission to bring you the stories no one else dares to tell. The story begins with a clear objective. The United States, citing national security concerns and a desire to maintain its technological lead, imposed a series of increasingly stringent export controls on China's semiconductor sector. The aim? To prevent Chinese companies, particularly SMIC, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, from acquiring the cutting-edge equipment, design software, and advanced chip technologies necessary to compete with industry leaders like Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, and Samsung Electronics. The rationale was simple. Without access to advanced extreme ultraviolet EUV lithography machines from Dutch giant ASML or the most sophisticated electronic design automation EDA tools from US firms, China would be stuck at mature process nodes, unable to produce the high-performance chips essential for AI, 5G, advanced computing, and modern military applications. For context, TSMC and Samsung have been racing each other to produce chips at the most advanced nodes, 5 nanometer, 3 nanometer, and even pushing towards 2 nanometer and beyond. These minuscule dimensions are crucial because smaller transistors mean more transistors on a single chip, leading to greater processing power, better energy efficiency, and ultimately, more powerful devices. The gap between China's SMIC and these global giants seemed insurmountable. SMIC was primarily known for mature node production, largely 28 nanometer and above. The sanctions were designed to solidify this gap, to create a technological choke point that China simply could not bypass. However, history has shown us that when a nation faces an existential threat to its technological ambitions, it often responds with unparalleled determination. The US export controls, while initially causing significant disruption, simultaneously triggered an unprecedented state-backed and truly massive mobilization within China's domestic semiconductor industry. Billions upon billions of dollars from the National Integrated Circuit Industry Investment Fund, famously known as the Big Fund, poured into research and development, talent acquisition, and localized production of every single component in the semiconductor supply chain. From chip design to materials, equipment manufacturing to packaging and testing, China's goal was no longer just to catch up, but to achieve complete semiconductor independence. This wasn't just about SMIC, it was about nurturing an entire ecosystem of domestic suppliers, from chip designers like Huawei's HiSilicon to equipment makers like Nora and AMEC and materials companies. They began to innovate under constraint, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible with deep ultraviolet, DUV, lithography, which is less advanced than EUV. And then, it happened. Whispers began to emerge in late 2023 and early 2024. Huawei, a company itself under heavy US sanctions, launched new smartphones powered by chips reportedly manufactured by SMIC. The shocking part: these chips, while not explicitly confirmed as 7 nanometer through official channels, demonstrated performance metrics that strongly suggested a breakthrough far beyond what was believed possible for SMIC under the prevailing sanctions. Analysts scrambled, tearing down devices, running tests. The consensus began to form: SMIC, despite being denied access to the most advanced EUV tools, had found a way to produce chips at a more advanced node than anticipated, likely through complex multi-patterning techniques with their existing DUV equipment. This wasn't a one-off. Reports in early 2025 indicated that SMIC was not only refining its process, but also significantly ramping up capacity for these more advanced nodes. Industry insiders and intelligence reports suggested that SMIC was on track to significantly increase its monthly wafer output, doubling production by 2025 across multiple new fabs in cities like Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing. While still a fraction of TSMC's colossal output, the rate of progress was alarming. So, the critical question, did China beat TSMC and Samsung? The nuance here is crucial. TSMC and Samsung are still undeniably at the absolute forefront, pushing towards 2 nanometer and 1.4 nanometer production by 2025 and 2028 respectively, with superior yield rates and established supply chains. Their lead in next-generation semiconductor technology remains formidable. However, what China, and specifically SMIC, has demonstrated is an accelerated ability to narrow the gap in certain critical areas. They haven't surpassed them in overall technological leadership or volume of the absolute bleeding-edge nodes, but they have shown an astonishing capability to circumvent the intended effects of the sanctions and advance their domestic capabilities faster than predicted. This leads us to the provocative part of our title. Did the US sanctions backfire? From a purely economic standpoint, the sanctions have certainly hit some Western companies who lost access to the lucrative Chinese market. But more critically, from a strategic perspective, there's a compelling argument to be made that they inadvertently galvanized China's indigenous innovation and self-reliance efforts. By cutting off access to external technology, the US essentially forced China to invest massively and urgently in its own capabilities. Instead of merely buying chips from TSMC or Samsung, China is now building its own robust semiconductor ecosystem. This doesn't mean they're entirely independent overnight. They still face significant challenges, particularly in securing access to the most advanced lithography tools like ASML's EUV, which are still heavily restricted. However, their progress in areas like advanced DUV processing and the development of domestic equipment suppliers has been a significant win for their long-term strategic goals of technological sovereignty. The implications are profound. A more self-sufficient China in semiconductors could reshape global supply chains, impact geopolitical power dynamics, and accelerate the decoupling of technology ecosystems. It forces a fundamental re-evaluation of how effective unilateral sanctions truly are in the long run, especially against a determined nation with vast resources. The chip war isn't just about who makes the fastest processors. It's about who controls the future of technology, and by extension, global influence. This shift also highlights the inherent risk in attempting to contain technological progress. Innovation, as history repeatedly shows, finds a way. When one door closes, determined engineers and scientists will work tirelessly to open another, or even build a completely new one. China's pursuit of semiconductor self-sufficiency is no longer a distant aspiration. It's a rapidly unfolding reality, fundamentally altered by the very actions designed to prevent it. So, Revo Now Nation, what does this mean for you? It means a world where the foundations of our digital lives, from the smartphones in our pockets to the AI that powers our future, are built on increasingly diverse and potentially competing technological foundations. It means a future where innovation is driven not just by collaboration, but also by intense geopolitical competition. The story of SMIC, TSMC, Samsung, and the US sanctions is far from over. It's a dynamic, evolving saga with twists and turns still to come. But one thing is clear, the initial assumptions about China's technological limitations in the face of sanctions need a serious rewrite. We want to hear from you, the Revo Now community. What's your take on China's semiconductor advancements? Do you believe the US sanctions have truly backfired, or are they a necessary evil in a complex geopolitical landscape? Share your thoughts, your insights, and your questions in the comments section below. Your unique perspectives are what make the Revo Now community so vibrant and intelligent. And speaking of what's next, what other groundbreaking technological developments or unseen geopolitical shifts do you want us to explore? Are there other underdog stories in the tech world that deserve a spotlight? Let us know in the comments what you want to see Revo Now investigate next. Your input directly shapes our future content. Thank you for joining us on this critical exploration. Stay curious, stay informed, and remember, the future is always more complex and more fascinating than it appears. This is Revo Now signing off.
Subscribe to Revo Now and join our vibrant community of forward thinkers, change makers, and revolutionaries.